So, start of this year, I decided that I was going to write a detective novel. It definitely is not my first novel. I've written other books. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to write a detective novel from the 1930s. And there was a lot for me to work with. I mean, hell, detective novels are everywhere. But I wanted to focus something more primarily on the 1930s. This book does not take place in the 1930s. It takes place, I believe, in the 80s. It's really not particularly clear as to when it takes place. But whatever, that's not really what's important. This is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sorry, not the movie from the 80s, the book, Who Censored Roger Rabbit. And as usual with traditionally published books, I am not restraining myself on spoilers. If you have not read this book, don't go ahead. Unless you don't care about spoilers, and it's not so much the destination or the twist that gets you going, but it's the writing in and of itself and the story that keeps you moving, then by all means, keep watching the video. So, the story centers around Eddie Valiant, who is this private detective hired by Roger Rabbit to figure out why he's not getting his own comic strip, because he was promised one, but it's not happening. So Eddie goes on, he does some investigations, finds out that what Roger had heard was not what was going on, and when he goes to give the rabbit the bad news, he finds Roger dead in his apartment. And from there on, he decides to take on the case himself to find out who murdered Roger Rabbit. From there, he meets a wide plethora of characters, including Baby Herman, Jessica Rabbit, and a photographer. There's a whole side plot around her, actually, which is... it doesn't lead to much, but it's kind of interesting at the same time. It's not so much the story in this that really keeps a person moving. It's the hard-boiled detective feel and the premise of people being around with cartoons and just how much fun this book is. Like, this is not a book that should be taken too seriously, but at the same time takes itself very seriously as well. Like, Eddie Valiant is very much a hard-boiled detective. He is not a funny, goofy guy. Like, he's very, But then you've got the clone version of Roger Rabbit, who desperately wants to help out and figure out who killed the actual person. And it's actually kind of a really interesting mystery. And honestly, unless you know where it's going, you really can't figure it out very well. Like it gives you some clues, but it really doesn't give you much to work its way out of. I think Eddie even just kind of stumbles upon it accidentally. But at the same time, it's also not overly accidental because he just figures things out. The characters, you can't really... actually, even this whole story in general, you can't compare it to the movie. They are two very separate entities. Roger Rabbit in the movie is a fun-loving, goofy character. Jessica Rabbit is a very loving wife. Baby Herman is actually right about the same as he is in the book, to be perfectly honest. He's actually one of the very few that really carries over. Eddie Valiant in the movie starts off fairly similar as to his book counterpart, but eventually lightens up halfway through the movie. Whereas Eddie Valiant in the book continues to be just a hard-boiled detective. As far as the rest of the book goes, like, I'm not going to spoil the ending for it. I know I said I'm not going to restrain myself on spoilers, but the ending is something that you really do need to experience for yourself. As well as these characters. And some of the premises that go along with it. Like, there are videos upon videos talking about the book-to-movie adaptation and, talking about the book itself. This one, I'm just going to leave it where it is. I loved this book. I actually had a lot of fun reading it. I really enjoyed it. So, Who Censored Roger Rabbit is going to straight up get a 9 out of 10 from me. It did lose a little bit just because it just wasn't what I expected, I guess. It was a little grittier than what I expected it to be. this isn't something that, and this isn't really even a critique on terms of the book. It was just more of a personal expectation as to what I was getting into. And I didn't get what I was expecting, but I definitely got something that I really enjoyed. So that's just kind of where that one sits. So yeah, Who Censored Roger Rabbit gets a 9 out of 10. I definitely recommend this book. It's a little hard to find here in Canada. Most book retailers don't carry it. I had to listen to it on Audible. And that worked. Anyway, that's about all I got for you folks. So have a good one.